Sure.
Okay, here we go. I hereby call the City Council meeting to order for November 9th. If everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And our city attorney is out tonight along with Foster Reif, who will be teleconferencing with us. Mr. Kane is here to fill in for Steve McEwen. Linda, if you could do the roll call, please.
Okay, Councilmember King. Here. Councilmember Mercado.
Here.
Councilmember Reif. Hello.
You there, Foster?
I'm on mute, I'm sorry.
All right. You here?
Say here.
Here, yeah, just give me a minute to respond. I have mute on.
Okay. Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. Thank you very much. Do we have any reordering of the agenda tonight?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now we move into public comment period. This is for anybody who wants to speak to council, whether it's on an agenda item or not. This is your 3 minutes to talk about anything you want to talk about. I don't have any speaker slips for public comments, but if anybody would like to step up, now's the time to fill out a slip. Okay, don't see that. Closing public comment. Moving on to the consent calendar. We have a few items. We have minutes of October 26, 2017 regular city council meeting. List of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2017-18. Acceptance and filing of Storm Water Management Program, the SWMP, annual report for fiscal year 2016-17. Financial report for first quarter ending September 30th, 2017. And the monthly private project balance report through September 30, 2017. Any questions for staff or any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Alrighty.
As stated.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Linda, we have a first and second.
Okay, Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Reif. And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay. Any presentations?
No, ma'am.
Any public hearings?
No.
Public member comments, items, anything you want to talk about coming up, gone on, or want to bring back up to council? Councilmember Mercado?
I'm good right now. Thank you.
Councilmember King?
I'm good.
Okay. Vice Mayor, excuse me.
Thank you. Just comment what we're Councilmember comments?
Councilmember comments / items.
Okay. Attended the quarterly meeting with the Central Coast Home Builders Association. They have a breakfast every month. Yesterday was in San Luis Obispo. They had a superintendent of this San Luis Obispo school district. His relaying what the situation is with home builders and finding qualified help. They have a very hard time finding qualified young people to enter the trades, and that's going to affect supply and demand. Just it was a good meeting. About 90 people were there. It was a good.
Wow.
I was pleased to go, and probably going up again sometime.
Good. Councilmember Reif, any comments / items from you? Okay. I just have two. Next Wednesday, November 15th from 5 to 7, there's a chamber mixer at Hampton Inn. And then December 3rd is the city's Winterfest on Avenue of Flags. We get about, 20 tons of snow dropped off. Opens up about 4 o'clock. If anybody wants to throw a snowball or make an angel in the snow, December 3rd is our big opportunity.
What's the date on that, Hampton?
November 15th. Alrighty, moving on. Written communications.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Committee reports.
Committee report.
Councilmember King,
No, ma'am.
weren't you at the Library Advisory Committee?
Oh, I was down. Slipped my mind. Yeah, we actually had a library advisory committee meeting right here in these chambers, which I think hopefully we're going to do again in the future. It makes it easy for us anyways. And a lot of things were discussed. Issues of where the funding is going to come from, who's going to get what. It's kind of almost like an introductory library advisory meeting because we're kind of getting off the ground with that. So in the near future, we're going to have more meetings to find out what kind of funding we're going to have for our library, the libraries in the rest of the county and the cities. Galita has dropped out, so that is no longer part of the library system here. And I will keep you up to date when we have more of those meetings.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor, any?
Did not have any since our last meeting.
Okay. We had SBCAG and APCD. We also had the Santa Barbara Foundation had a veteran assessment this morning in Solvang, and after this big study, the biggest needs for veterans is medical care and housing. Imagine that. It was a good meeting though. Alrighty, moving on to business items. Business item agenda number 6, discussion and direction regarding recreational vehicle parking. Mr. Brzezinski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. On July 27th, the City Council directed staff to come back with revised regulations for the parking of recreational vehicles, boats, and trailers. This is not the ordinance. This is just direction from Council and what it would look like. So once we get through this, if this is where the council wants to go, then staff would start preparing the revised ordinance. So this is just more of a workshop and discussion. And the direction from council is to allow parking on the existing driveway, change the setbacks to 2.5 feet to the front and side property lines, and not enforce the current regulations until this item gets further reviewed and we move forward. The diagram on the left is the current regulations, which show the small parking area on the short side with a 5-foot setback to the property line on the side and to the front. The one on the right is the directed storage area, which increase that side area to the driveway and reduce the setbacks to 2.5 feet to the side property line and the front property line. The one issue is in the front property line whether the 2.5 feet is adequate for sight distance if there's a large vehicle there with vehicles coming out and people on the sidewalk. So that's what you should consider, because it's been 5 feet in the current ordinance and the prior ordinance in 2008. I did contact our insurance carrier, California JPIA, and they basically will cover us whatever ordinance is adopted if it's 2.5 feet or 5 feet. 5 feet for safety might be better in their perspective, but whatever the city adopts they will cover as long as it doesn't go into the public right-of-way. So that was a further research I did with our insurance carrier on the front setback area. I did do a brief windshield survey of the city, and again we have approximately 60 properties, and with the new regulations maybe 5 due to the size of the vehicle could not be stored in the new area shown on the right. It may still be able to be fit into the backyard or the side yard, but in the past it was maybe half of them would be able to comply with the diagram on the left. So this reduces it down to just a handful. So City Council should take public input and then provide direction to staff on whether to change the existing ordinance based on the changes shown on attachment 3, which is the diagram on the right.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to do this questions first from council to staff, then we open it up for public comment, and then bring it back for discussion and direction to staff. So first of all, are there any questions to staff?
Just one. In your survey, the ones that initially were non-compliant, have they made an attempt to become compliant in any way, or they're waiting for the ordinance?
I think they're waiting for the ordinance. I didn't do any comparisons on whether they tried to comply with the current regulations.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the verbiage that we still have in this ordinance, it prohibits, and I don't know if you just haven't changed it yet or you're waiting for a direction from us, that you can only park in the driveway in a 3-car. You're just waiting for us to give you direction today for that?
That's correct. So if you look in the diagram on the right, that includes a 2-car or a 3-car garage, and that's direction from council whether they want to move forward on that. Correct.
Okay. That is the only question I have.
Vice Mayor, did you have any questions?
I just want to make sure, and I think you've clarified it, you drew the line, 2.5 feet is only to the 20-foot setback. Somewhere I saw it was running the whole length of the property, and I had a...
No, that's been changed on the side and rear yards. It's still 2.5 feet from the property line, so it's not just jammed up against the fence.
But that is only up to the 20-foot front yard setback, not...
No, that's in the rear yard and side yard as well.
Okay,
We have to have 3 feet from the structure for fire access and safety.
I understand that.
And that can be changed too. That's up to
the 2.5 and the 5. I talked with a couple of citizens about it, and they don't remember the 2.5 being, being all the way down the property line in the past, and that was the feeling I had. I wanted to try to iron that out tonight.
That is correct, because if you see on the diagram on the left, the ordinance that was adopted has 3 feet from property line, and so that can be adjusted.
In the backyard, it's 3. 5 here.
That was even the old ordinance.
Yeah, that was
That was even the old ordinance.
Talking about the whole length of front to rear of
Yes.
the whole lot, I don't understand. To me, that's a taking that we have no business doing.
Well, that's up to council's discretion to
Because
remove
it's on
that.
both sides of that property line, so there's 5 feet there that technically we're saying shouldn't be anything there. And a lot of people have stored sheds or at their property lines. So.
No, and that's again up for. I'm looking for direction from the council, and all of that is open to direction.
Yeah, Mark, that's only for, to Ed's point, that's only for RVs, boats, trailers, whatever. We're not talking about anything
that is
else like
correct.
that. So the old ordinance, when, back in 2009, I think it was, it's always been 3 feet all the way around, right?
The house, the resident.
The back.
Yeah, around the residence, not to the property line.
Not to the property line.
Yes.
Okay, so what was the setback from property line?
There were in the rear and side yards. There was none, and behind the front setback.
That's what I would entertain.
But I'm thinking that here's what we're doing is going 2 feet 5 inches, just to have a space between, just for RVs and boats and such, not for sheds and any other structures. Just 2.5 feet all the way around the property, which I don't really think is unreasonable. It gives a little space between the fence and the RV. Right. I mean, this is only for, and that's why I clarified it with Mark, is that it's just for RVs and boats and stuff and trailers and whatever else. Is that correct, Mark?
That is correct.
Okay.
Councilmember Rife, any questions from you?
No questions. I think Mark did a good job translating the whiteboard into the stat package.
Thank you. Alrighty. My only question I asked City Manager Bierdzinski earlier, Vice Mayor had asked about grandfathering these in. I asked if there was any way we could grandfather the 5 or 6 RVs/boats that do not fit into the new ordinance.
You can certainly do that. However, it's a logistic and tracking nightmare to keep track of that, especially if you extend it. Because I don't think you can just do it to the 5. I think you would have to do it for all cases. So that then is a tracking issue. It would be a lot of staff time to do something as far as grandfathering, such as that.
Thank you very much. Okay, so questions have been asked. We're going to go to public comment now. I have 4 speaker slips. If anybody would like to turn in a speaker slip to speak about this agenda item, now's the time to get it in. I'm going to We do have an unusual case. Mr. and Mrs. Perry would like to speak. Mrs. Perry is unable to speak, so you'd like to speak for her as well? Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. My name is Robert Perry, and I'm a 32-year resident of Buellton, owning a home on Odette Street in Thumbelina. As some of you know, I once served on the Planning Commission, the first Planning Commission of the City of Buellton in 1993, when we first became a city, and I have some understanding of zoning issues and property rights issues you're discussing tonight. The argument that it is a constitutional right of a residential property owner within the jurisdiction of a municipality to assert that it is a violation of their property rights if the municipality enforces reasonable zoning restrictions is laughable. This issue is before the City Council again, as the right to governance is challenged by a small group of residents who believe that it is their property right to park their oversized recreational vehicles on their property in violation of the city's public nuisance ordinance. If you believe this line of thinking, then you should have some thoughts on the following constitutional rights. If you believe you have a total right to the freedom of religion, just try to marry a few wives or husbands, or have a few concubines, or even sacrifice a chicken. If you believe you have unfettered rights to keep and bear arms, just walk down Avenue of Flags carrying a rifle and see if you don't draw some unwanted attention. The city has a need to regulate public nuisances and should. We currently have ordinances on the books that pretty much say you can have a chicken, but it better be barbecued, fried, or roasted, because if it's alive, it's a public nuisance. There is no basis to support an argument that a municipality is taking anything from a property owner by regulating how property can be used within a residentially zoned area. My neighbor cannot open a rendering yard, a scrap metal business, or even a barber shop next door, as the city may, through its power to create and enforce effective zoning, prohibit those uses in a residentially zoned neighborhood. And the answer as to why the zoning violation or regulations protect the majority of residents and property owners is that without them, our property value would decrease, as those residents who did not have RVs parked in driveways blocking views would be subsidizing those residents who do have these RVs. There should be no question that an abundance of parked RVs would do damage to the visual attractiveness we want in our neighborhoods, and any visual damage would decrease the property values of surrounding properties. Those who oppose the city in its efforts to prevent these attractive nuisances are saying they should not have to pay to park their RVs somewhere else. What they are not saying is that they are asking their neighbors to pay with lower property values and block sightways so they can park their RVs where they want. I too have a large recreational vehicle that I know my neighbors would not want to see parked in my driveway days on end. I pay substantially to park it elsewhere. I knew when I bought it, it was to be stored elsewhere, and I was not willing to foist my toy on my neighbors. There is one additional reason that City Council should not even be discussing this subject. The ordinance which you are discussing was passed by the City Council on a second reading on February 9th, 1917, with direction that the city begins enforcing the regulations in September of 2017. This was passed on a 4-1 vote, with Councilmember Andrusik the sole dissenting vote. On April 27th, Councilmember Andrusik asked that the Council reconsider the issue of parking RVs. This motion to reconsider by Councilmember Andrusik is out of order, as it is inconsistent with the rules of order that deliberative bodies adhere to in these United States. I'm quoting from my 1990 edition of Robert's Rules of Order that I brought with me to the Planning Commission. The motion to reconsider, a motion of American origin, enables a majority in an assembly within a limited time and without notice to bring back for further consideration a motion which has already been voted on. The purpose of reconsidering a vote is to remit a correction of hasty, ill-advised, or erroneous action, or to take into account added information or a changed situation that has developed since the taking of the vote. One of the unique characteristics of the motion to reconsider, quote, it can be made only by a member who voted with the prevailing side. In other words, a reconsideration can be moved only by one who voted aye if the motion involved and was adopted, or no if the motion was lost. Quote, this requirement, the motion to reconsider, is a protection against its dilatory use or delaying use by a defeated minority, especially when the motion is debatable. What the above means is that Councilmember Andrusik's motion to reconsider from April 27th was a motion out of order and should not have been recognized by the chair. Although this may seem as a technical argument, the orderly process of government is a requirement if the citizens are to have any confidence in having a cogent system of laws we can depend on. I ask that you tonight move on with your normal course of business and begin enforcement of Ordinance 1702 as this council had previously voted to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Carol Gross.
Wasn't that those one else that come in?
As far as I'm concerned, the entire issue about this ordinance is one of safety. It stands above any other. The safety of our people, of our children, that has to come first and be primary. I was thinking about it today as I was wandering around the parking lot. And if you think about your car, when you sit in the car, how many feet is it from there to the bumper? A lot more than 2.5 feet. I don't care what you drive. I don't think there's any car that's 2.5 feet to the bumper, which means even if you were pulling frontwards out of the driveway, you couldn't see the child crossing in front of the RV until you've already hit them, until your bumper's already in the sidewalk. This is a chance we can't take. I think the city would put itself in a bad position if it took a safety-related ordinance and made it more lenient, and if something occurs, the city's in a pretty, even if our insurance carrier is willing to pay, the city's in a bad position. One other side comment just to think about when you're talking about this ordinance is also the factor of large vehicles that may block the view from a neighbor's window, and that's an aspect too. If they're 2.5 feet from the lot line and the neighbor's kitchen window, all they're going to see is the RV, no sky, no trees, nothing. I did some looking around to see something of what was done in other cities, and I'll bring you a quote, which I can leave with you if you like. It says, it shall be unlawful to permit any hedge, wall, or closed fence adjacent to a driveway abutting a sidewalk or street to be kept or maintained at such a height as to obstruct the view of the driver of a vehicle backing into the street from said driveway. Now, that's an ordinance from another city, but again, you might consider that some of the standard of care, so to speak. I think that and I think if the city wants to do anything to address this problem, maybe the city can help look around. There is a lot of space around the city. Maybe the city could help to negotiate, not pay for, but help to negotiate a suitable parking area that could be rented to RV owners at a reasonable rate if someone just approached them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alrighty, I've got 2 speakers left, so if anybody else would like to speak, now's the time to fill out your slip. Our next speaker is Larry Rankin.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to see you, and I thank you for at least taking the opportunity to readdress this. I listened to what this gentleman said, and honestly, in my opinion, it really doesn't matter what someone has done in the past, whether they've been on a board, a mayor, or anything else. I think what this is, if anything, it's a just issue. And, you know, to vilify something, I didn't come in here to do that. I was just going to come in here tonight and say, thank you for your diligence and great work, and walk out. But I decided after listening to some of these things, there was a lot more important than that. I get it. I get it from all sides. And by the way, we have a new lawyer. Welcome. I get it from all sides, and I understand it. I've been vilified and called a bully on the Thumbelina thing because of me organizing and getting this going. I'm not a bully. I just have my own opinion, but I don't go back and address that. And I really appreciate the critical thinking that you people have and what you've done and what you're capable of doing, and to really enjoy to readdress this. And again, it's only another person's opinion of what they feel, and this is my opinion. That's all really it counts, and what your opinion is what's really going to make the laws and regulations. I hear the lady here talking about safety issues. Yeah, if you have something 2.5 feet and you're driving on the road, we're going down a road 2.5 feet off the hot sidewalk, how's that interfering with your view? It may interfere with your view if you are looking at your kitchen window and you have an RV there, but I still see it as a freedom that we all have as an individual for property rights. And many of you may not see that. And I understand your safety issues also, but I think it goes a lot deeper than that. And I hope that you will all take some consideration in on what really this is about. It's about you representing the city, all the people here, not just a certain few. And that was one of the reasons I went ahead and organized the last time, because I felt as though you were really overstepping. And I feel as though that Mark, by saying that he feels as though it's going to be a burden on the city to go ahead and grandfather something in, what I honestly see is that is laziness on the city's part, because they're not willing to go ahead and help other people that's been living here. And I have 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm leaving. I thank you very much.
Nice to see you, Larry. Okay, our last speaker, Bobby Manley. Manili, I'm so sorry.
That's fine. Good evening. How are you? Obviously, Buellton resident, 39 years, longer than most of you here. Several of you. This issue has been going on way too long. I mean, as far as the property lines go, you know, in my opinion, from your house in the backyard, there shouldn't be, I mean, you can do what you want with it. You should be able to. That's your backyard. It's concealed. You've got fences all the way around your property. There's no reason to be putting any kind of setback or, you know, space between your fences or anything else. You walk down, you look in the backyards, well, which you shouldn't be anyway, because you shouldn't be looking in people's backyards. But if you do, everybody's got a tough shed or something, everything else up against the fence. So why have a stationary object against the fence when you can't have something that's not permanent that can be moved? You can't have it against the fence. It doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, if you're going to say nothing can be against your fence inside your backyard, then that has to go for everything. You know, I mean, boats, trailers, RVs, whatever, they can be moved. You know, so I think the backyard should be left alone, and there shouldn't be any kind of enforcement in one's backyards. I know my father was infringed upon years ago because 2 city workers took pictures illegally over his backyard and made a stink about some vehicles in the backyard. And I haven't forgot about that. And it wasn't right. And so I think that, you know, another thing I see is there's a lot of houses here that have sidewalks and others that don't. The lawn goes all the way to the street. So what does this ordinance clarify? Houses with sidewalks or houses with a yard that goes all the way to the street? So I mean, we're talking about 2.5 feet from the street, 2.5 feet from the sidewalk, and it's got to be equal all the way around, obviously. But I mean, I think, you know, if you're a foot back, I think is more than enough space to have, you know, anything on your property. I mean, that's, you know, you want to talk about views, you know, a trailer or an RV blocking your view. What about these 3-story buildings going up around the city? You can't even see the mountains anymore. Now that pisses me off. You want to talk about views. Look at these ugly freaking condos they're putting up over there on McMurray Road that get as many people as they can in this little tiny space. You can't even look over those mountains anymore. So that to me is a visual nuisance. It's people complaining about people who don't like people's lifestyles is what this is about, and it's very unfortunate that the city is coming to this. It really disappoints me. And not all of us have the luxury to be able to afford to keep our boats or RVs or trailers out of town. Some people can because they got the money. Some people don't. So, an easy way to fix this, put it on the ballot. Put it on the ballot. See what the citizens say about it. And then, done deal. You see how many people came in against this, over 300 signatures, and how many people have opposed it? Maybe half a dozen, or a dozen at the most. So, you want to do something, let's put it to a vote, and then that will squash it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manili. Alrighty. Bringing it back to council for discussion. Councilmember Rife, anything you wanna bring up? Okay.
Quietest he's ever been.
Quietest he's ever been. Quick question for city manager. When the property lawn goes to the street, what are we proposing?
There's no difference between sidewalk or lawn. It's property line. And the ones that don't have sidewalk, the property line is at the lawn. Where they have sidewalk, the property line is behind the sidewalk. So it's all property line, doesn't have anything to do whether there's a sidewalk or not a sidewalk.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen?
I think the changes that we brought forward make a difference. I was hoping with asking Mark if some of the people who had been out of compliance with some of the changes had made an opportunity, because I know we had initially talked about the 5 or 6 who were fairly close if they made changes. So I think I like this new property line. I think I personally have been able to back up a 18-foot horse trailer with less than 2.5 feet. It takes time and it takes practice, but if you can get it done, you can get it. As long as you have...
You only took your fence down how many times?
Well, it was a big barn. So, but you just have to get used to doing that. And so I understand both the property rights and the safety issue, but on that aspect, when people, whether it's the 2.5 feet or if you're on a sidewalk, people who park on the street, that also blocks your view. So you can't use that as a visionary thing to me, because some streets here in town have sidewalks, others don't. Right? With Thumbelina, we have no sidewalks, so people who park on the street are also blocking your view. So it's not just a motorhome or trailer or something like that. So it's just, you need to be cautious, and that's a personal thing. So I think we need to move forward with this, with our new restrictions, and see how it goes.
Thank you. Councilman King, any comments?
I do. Remember, I think it'd be easier if I used the board. Do you mind?
Please.
Mark, those all dry erase? Those all dry erase? Yeah. Okay. And I've been looking at this, and Mr. Manila, be careful what you wish for, because 300 people can get really outvoted by 5,000. And you may find out that those other people, besides that 300 some people, don't want any trailers in this town at all. So you may put it on the ballot, and I can guarantee you that on that ballot it will say, no trailers on your property, boats, anything, period. So be careful what you wish for. We're trying to make a compromise here. So I think that this right here, you're saying, oh, you don't want to set back on there. Okay, how many of you have stayed in a trailer? Anybody stayed in a trailer? Anybody, you guys own a trailer, right? What's in there? Gas, propane, electrical, correct? All those things can catch on fire. So if you think about this, you have a shed back here. Is anybody going to be cooking in that shed? Have that plugged in to keep it charged up? If that trailer that's parked here catches on fire, now you're catching fence on fire and neighbor's house. So a 2-foot setback to me is not unreasonable for this side. Because if the fire department has to come in there, they have to have access to that. Otherwise they have to tear this fence down. If it's a block wall, now they're just trying to squirt water over the wall to try to put this trailer out that's on this piece of property. So you have to allow a human being to be able to get through there in case this trailer catches on fire. Is that unreasonable? No, I don't think so. Right? The 3 foot from here, same reason. Okay? You might want to park it right up against the fence, but if you look at safety's sake, say, hey, that shouldn't be parked right up against the fence because if there is an incident, emergency personnel have to get to that. Okay? The other thing here is, if you're going to park that out here on the side setting that we talked about, Mark, and maybe we can add this in, this should be the concrete aggregate or what we talked about in that ordinance. Okay? Instead of you parking it on your side yard and it grow up and turn into weeds and trailer trash. Okay? So if you're going to park your trailer there, put it on concrete. Okay? Just makes sense. I mean, don't piss off your neighbors. Okay? Do we have to make an ordinance for that? Of course we do, because everybody's not going to comply with it. So we have to make rules. Down here, honestly think this should be 5 feet. Why do I say that? Because I was a high patrol for 25 years. As was pointed out, sorry ma'am, I forgot your name. As pointed out, it's hard to see around this. If your house driveway is right here, and you are backing out of your garage, and trailer is parked 2 feet from the street, kid and bicycle, and I cannot tell you how many times I took an accident with a kid riding a bicycle on the wrong way down the road, got taken out because he was on the wrong side of the road. Why? Because he's a 10-year-old kid. So how do we rectify this? We make this 5 feet. So when this person backing out of this driveway here can have sight picture down the road to see said child driving down the street on bicycle or skateboard or scooter. Okay? Just makes common sense. Right? Some people want to park it from garage edge here to 2 feet to this. No. Okay? Lost Foster. Okay? So basically that's my opinion. If you want to change it to that, but I'm telling you for safety's sake, for these reasons is why. 2.5 feet from the side, safety reasons for fires, 2 feet from the house to not burn your own house down. And then 5 feet, someone coming down the street, bicycle or scooter or whatever, even pedestrian.
Thank you very much, Councilmember King. Thank you.
And just to clarify, you're back? Okay. Just to clarify, the pavement surface from the ordinance to this one isn't changing, so it's still required to be pavement.
Wherever the trailer is parked.
Yes, correct.
They can have 5 feet a yard from their property line to where the trailer is parked.
Question for you, Mr. Berzinski. Yes. If we change it to 5 feet from the 2.5 to 5, how does that change our compliance?
I would imagine that there will be a few more that could not comply just because of the length of the vehicles. I don't know number at this point, but I would imagine the 5 feet would cause a few more.
Mark, can you outline what Dave is trying to depict?
Yes, I will. And Dave, you can correct me. He wants 5. He wants the 2.5 feet around the property lines for safety purposes, as well as a 5 foot setback from the front property line so cars can see children, animals, people walking along the street or the sidewalk. that correct?
So Dave, I thought initially we were talking about 0, and then you were the one that came up with the idea of 2.5 feet. And now you're recommending 5 feet from your initial 2.5 feet recommendation?
Well, yes, I agreed with you on that at the time, but further assessment of that and looking from something that is a big square block that is 2.5 feet from the street, with further review, I thought that the site picture was not adequate to be 2.5 feet.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to refute your effort, and I certainly applaud it. But some of my neighbors have reached out to me very particularly. They have measured very precisely to meet some of the regulations, to include the old and the new and the theoretical, if you will. So I hate to change it, I hate to say 2.5 feet is a big change, but I think that will increase the number of people that will not be authorized to park an RV in their driveway, which I think we're trying to avoid.
Well, let me point out, Foster, that was in the original ordinance. The original ordinance said 5.5 feet, and the unfortunate thing is that has not been enforced for who knows how many years.
Well, I'm not arguing that for sure. I think that's why I'm here. I'm just saying that I think we're going to cause equal consternation if we try to 5-foot setback.
Well, my point is, what's it worth the life of a child? Your trailer parked in your driveway, or someone getting run over by a car that didn't see them coming?
Vice Mayor Andrusik, your comments?
You know, it's a catch-22 for so many people because we do not have an alternative for them. There literally is no place in the city for people to park their RV on a reasonable basis. And we had a proposal years ago, and we had a conversation. Perhaps the property owner would be interested in negotiating something that meets everybody's needs. The ordinance, I resented the way this ordinance came with a whirlwind, and I think what it's caused us to do is put the cart before the horse. We don't have an option for anybody. We can make a rule and just stomp your feet and give tickets, and all you're going to do is create ill will amongst the people that would like to have their property used the way they had been using it. I'm trying to think, if you remember, we had a situation on Dogwood where a person opened a business, and we didn't find that the reality was there was an exclusion in the title for that tract of land. They could not have been doing what they were doing, whether we liked it or not, and it created a lot of animosity, and I think it's all been ironed out. But that's how this thing has evolved, and it's created consternation. I continue to believe that everybody that owns property feels that they have a right to their property, and they don't really want to pick up the paper and see that on a so-and-so vote they now will have to operate a different way. That's where I'm coming from. We had an RV ordinance, it was working, then we were asked to tweak it or change it. We had a couple that had the city come over and tell them that they were in compliance, only to find that they now are not in compliance, and it's a terrible mixed message. You know, the idea of tracking, and I'm not picking on staff for feeling that tracking would be an inconvenience. We're a very tiny city. We should be able to withstand some kind of inconvenience. I think we've got a code enforcement that's following up. I'm seeing a lot of activity with productive activity. People are making the changes. Carol, Mrs. Gross, the issue you mentioned, It came up in, I believe it was on Scandia Way, maybe 15 years ago. We had an elderly person who was trying to back out of her garage. It came to be she needed 20 feet. Anybody want to change all those numbers to 20 feet? Not really, but that was, it happened that she had a highway patrolman living next to her that told her that's what needed to be, and I'm not sure what the outcome is. I'm not sure if the person's even still there, but there are special instances that shouldn't drive a whole city's government to change property rights and issues that have been ongoing for quite a long time. If we were just now inventing an RV ordinance, I think it would be it would not be well received at all. But this really is, we keep tweaking it. I'm appreciative that Foster came to the 2.5. I really didn't see the I tree walked some neighborhoods and looked over the fences. There's a lot of things up against the fence that I imagine if we want to code enforce that, we can go and force them to be inconvenienced for one reason or another. We lived in a house that had a 7-foot. Mr. King lives in that same neighborhood. We're 7 feet from the stucco to the property line. We had to lift the air conditioner over the fence to get it there. There was no way, and I brought that up when they were doing the ordinance back in 2000, I think it was 2006. Staff was proud of it. Yeah, we made sure we didn't want those lots to have setback. Fred Fredericks did the best thing at the Fredericks track, gave 10 feet on each side of everyone's house. Foster lives in one of those, and that's a great area. Mr. Manili lives in one of those lot sizes. But this thing has taken all kind of direction, and I really was hopeful that we would have an opportunity to sit down and work out a space in the community. There is a spot, and see if we could get the landowner to work with us, but we have to also appreciate his he was driven away when he brought a very good proposal to the city with an unreasonable demand. And that's the kind of things that go wrong in little communities where we do have an urban growth boundary. We can't, a normal council could just sit down with someone and annex some property. We don't have that ability. So I think that's why that's why they have 5 people. More people can, a majority of people can control the way the direction goes. But we've gone awry. We've got the cart before the horse here. I appreciate Mr. Perry bringing to attention it's a violation to change the rules, and once they've been adopted. But you've lived here long enough to know the rules get changed a lot. So that's my
thank you very much,
that's
Vice
my
Mayor.
input, and I won't be changing my position.
I just have a couple comments, and then we'll move forward with direction to staff. First of all, I apologize to anybody who felt that council tried to go behind their back to process this ordinance. It was brought up to us in July. It came back in a notice meeting in August, in October, in January, in February. I truly thought that the opportunity was out there for all residents to come in and voice their opinion. So I apologize if there are people out there who felt that they did not have their voice, that their voice wasn't heard. I do disagree with Vice Mayor Andrasik. Dr. Buell came to us with a beautiful project for a storage unit. It was wonderful. It was off Thomas Drive, and council asked him to put a wall up around it. And he took offense to that. I was very sorry he took offense to that. I truly hope that the family comes back and does a storage unit. It just seemed that a wall was not unreasonable to ask him to put around a storage unit. I really think we've done due diligence. I think I agree with Councilmember Rife We've been working really hard to try to make this work for as many RV boat owners as we possibly could. I think that if we continue forward with the 2.5, I do realize that there could be some safety concerns. I'm grateful that our insurance company is willing to still process any claims, and I hope to God that there aren't any claims that ever come out of this. I would hope that since RVs and boats are not moved on a regular basis, that if anybody is moving them, that they would use due diligence and have somebody standing out on the sidewalk, something to help ensure public safety. And I think the only way that we can make this work for most of our residents is to go with the 2.5 driveway, 2.5 on the sides. So
2.5 in the front.
2.5 in the front. I don't think the RVs and boats are being moved around on every day, and I would imagine that if a family is getting ready to take their RV out, that there would be more than one person, and that somebody would be out there watching to make sure that it's being moved in a safe manner. That's my take on it. I appreciate this. I do appreciate the 5-foot safety, but if we do that, we're going to lose even more. This is a move in the right direction, and that's where I'm coming from.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Certainly.
The ordinance that you passed this year had that 5-foot setback.
Yes.
The ordinance that was passed in, I believe, 2009, wasn't it, Mark?
That is correct. 2009.
5-foot setback.
It had a 5-foot setback.
Yes.
The only people that are going to be upset about that 5-foot setback are people that are not in compliance with it right now. You know, if the 5-foot setback was there in 2009 and you guys passed it recently before I got back on council, honestly, the only people that are going to be concerned about that are people that are currently not in compliance with that. And I have seen trailers that are parked to the curb, which is ridiculous. I still want to express my opinion about that. I think that's safety. If you are backing out, like as is pointed out, your car is not 2 feet long. You're not sitting 2 feet from the back end of your car. Backing out of that driveway, if they're blocked by a square box called an RV,
you're usually not 5 feet either.
You're going to have a lot more sight picture backing out of that driveway with 5 feet than you are 2. Here's 2.5 feet. Here's 5 feet. That's a long ways for you to be able to look down the street and see somebody coming. And it's just, the only reason that we would change that to 2.5 feet is because of grumbling from people that are not in compliance as we speak. So, I mean, even if you said, let's go back to the ordinance of 2009, that had a 5-foot setback from the street. So, there would be people that were pissed off about that because if we went back to that ordinance of 2009 that the previous council had established, you could still go to those people and go, you're not in compliance with that 5 feet. You're going to have to take that trailer and move it off your property. So you're really kind of, you know...
I guess my concern is the vehicles that are on the lawn. If there's the option that they could be moved off the lawn and onto the driveway. I mean, for me, that's the eyesore, not the driveway so much. And the safety issue is huge. I totally get that. But if you can move a boat off of a front lawn and put it in the driveway, and it's within that 2.5 feet, so it does comply, which is probably why it's on the grass in the first place, because it didn't make the 5 feet.
But that vehicle that is parked in the yard still has that 5-foot setback compliance regardless of what ordinance we go with. The one that was passed in July or the one that was passed in 2009. That boat or trailer that's parked on this grass
on the front lawn
still has a 5-foot setback requirement. So if you're on your grass, you should certainly be able to move it over to your driveway and put it in your driveway and have a 5-foot setback from your property line. I mean, I just would not like to see us, 20/20 hindsight and have some kid hit on a bicycle or a skateboard or a scooter because we allowed people to park trailers 2 feet from their property line, which some property lines, like in Thumbelina, my house has a sidewalk, so my property line is the curb, but in Thumbelina, your property line goes to the curb, and if you're 2.5 feet from that curb, your sight picture for an automobile backing out of a driveway is extremely limited.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do a conversation. I think for the sake of consensus, though, I'm not sure there's a huge distinction between 2.5 feet and 5 feet. And I don't want to go through hypothetical draconian measures or extreme versions of, children getting hit. That all sounds, really bad. There's no other way to talk about it. But I'm not sure if a guy's driving down the street or a child is bicycling down the street. Whether it's 2.5 feet, 5 feet, it's going to matter. If we start talking about a 10 or 12 foot setback, then sure, I can see a safety kind of measure. But I'm not sure 2.5 feet is on a downward slope. We're talking about less than probably half a second, and I'm not sure that bikers can go the other way regardless. So I think we've talked about this extensively, and I would just like to see this move on, and let's make a motion. At least that's my take.
Do you have a motion, Councilmember Rife? Or I'm sorry, this is just discussion.
This is discussion and direction, so there'd be no motion. So it would be direction on how to update the ordinance.
Yeah. So, Councilmember Rife, your direction?
I thought we had pretty good consensus coming out of the last meeting. I'm certainly not trying to derail what Dave is saying. I appreciate his concerns for sure. But I think 2.5 feet is consensus. I mean, if we have different consensus on 5 feet, that would be news to me. So I would at least recommend we proceed on the 2.5 feet consensus from the last meeting. I thought Mark did a good job trying to translate that nasty whiteboard into staff report and consensus. So I'd like to move forward. And I'll refer to you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
So if I can clear that up, Madam Mayor?
Certainly.
Foster, just to kind of make the comparison here, if your side picture at 2.5 feet is 40, then at 5 feet your side picture is 80. Does that make a difference to you now?
I'm sorry, what do you mean 40 and 80?
So if your side picture, if you have a 2.5 foot setback, and let's say that you have a 40 foot side picture, 5.5 or 5 feet would make that 80. Does that make a difference now to you?
And that what you're defining as your view
down the road at objects coming at you, whether it be a car or a child or a bicycle or runners or anything else. You see where I'm coming from?
I get it. I understand what you're saying now.
Right. And see, investigating accidents for 25 years, let me tell you, that makes all the difference in the world.
And certainly I appreciate that. I just think that usually houses where I live, and so in near the dog park, and even the new area due west of the dog park, I'm not sure we have those sizes. I'm not sure there's just that big of a difference between 2.5 and 5 feet. And I think honestly that Mark's initial estimate of people that would be affected by a 2.5 to a 5 feet difference would be a lot more than just a handful. I think that would be a major chunk. I really do. I think that 2.5 feet would massively change the number of people that would be authorized to have an RV in their driveway. And so, I guess it's up to the rest of the council. I'd like to hear their comments. I mean, I just, those I'm pushing against it is only because we formed consensus last meeting, and I don't want to keep continuing this. I want to let's move forward, let's get this approved, et cetera, et cetera. I think we spent enough time talking about this. Now I'm on tenure, let alone the 9 months prior to my election.
Vice Mayor?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recall the Olson's comments, and I think we gave them assurance. Was it the Olsons? They had the set up there. They live over by the River Park.
On Valley Dairy.
Valley Dairy, and they had specifically set up 2.5 feet, and I think we pretty well, there was major consensus that that would solve, that they were already set at 2.5, and that 5 would create a hardship. He came to the microphone and said that I don't see them, they didn't weigh in. I just, for the sake of the, don't want to keep changing things. But do you recall the comments, the folks that had they have an RV in their driveway on concrete, they put the pad for 2.5 foot setback.
I don't recall that.
I do remember now. Okay, so Councilmember's direction is the 2.5. Councilmember McCall?
Like I said, I agree with the 2.5. I think that was a good compromise. When we bought our house at Thumbelina, they have concrete from the curb or from the property line to the back, and it was noted at that time that you could have a mobile home or a motor home or trailer or something in the back, and we don't use it for that, but it's there, and I think that's a good compromise. I definitely agree with Dave on his reasoning behind that. I just think it's a good compromise for what we have for right now, and if we can get more people compliant, then I think that makes the city a little bit more reasonable. So I would go with the 2.5, 3 foot from the structures.
Councilmember King?
I will only support this if we make that 5 feet from property line.
Okay.
And put concrete underneath those trailers or some other aggregate.
Vice Mayor Andresen?
Right. I haven't heard a motion. I'm prepared
No, we're
to
just
vote.
giving direction.
No motion.
Yeah, okay.
Just direction.
So we're giving a motion for the direction.
No motion. Just if you're okay with the 2.5.
Yes, I like the 2.5.
And do we have to make it part that we do have to have a concrete or an aggregate?
Well, that's not changing. That's already in the ordinance. I'm not changing that. This is more of the location.
Okay.
So it appears like the direction is basically
General consensus is to continue with what we have.
that I show on the right hand drawing, and I'll bring forward an ordinance then.
Thank goodness that people are responsible, and when they decide to move an RV or a boat, that they use more than one person.
Okay.
Alrighty. Thank you very much. Moving on to business item number 7, discussion regarding commercial/industrial water meter program. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Thanks for coming.
Wow, for the decks.
Okay, Director Hess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Member of City Council. So at the October 26th council meeting, council approved the continued implementation of our monthly water and wastewater rate increases as adopted in 2016. And with that, council requested to further discuss the creation of a commercial industrial water meter program. So in the staff report, we provided a general basis for what the program would consist of, if the council so chooses to move forward with this. Be a meter fund program. You can set the limits, but we're proposing at this point $25,000 as a starting point for discussion. And that would be on a first come, first served basis for commercial industrial classification users to evaluate the property to see the actual meter size that their facility would need. So that would give them an opportunity to downsize on the actual meter costs that they would be charged monthly. I provided a general cost estimate for what those charges were for the smaller meters. Ranges from $485 for a 1-inch meter, and then goes up to $1,360 for a 2-inch meter. And this is the cost of the actual meter, plus the $60 an hour per labor charge for changing out that meter. So with a fund for approximately $25,000, that would cover approximately 21.5 meter changes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I could not hear those.
Like right into it, like into it.
We're going to try it again.
Alrighty. Can you hear me now, Foster? Somewhat?
You have to talk like right into it.
Yeah, I don't know, still like there, Montana. I mean, just track on.
Those can use that one.
Why doesn't?
It'll work if you talk right. I mean, you gotta be like Benjamin. Like you're a,
Okay.
a singer.
Hopefully this is a little bit louder. And try to keep yelling into here.
Towards, there you go.
Okay. So to move forward, the meter fund program of $25,000 will cover approximately 20 1.5 inch meters as far as the new meters to be changed out. The applicants will have to fill out the request to change meter forms, which has all the required waivers of, let me see, it's attachment 1. That has the appropriate waivers that's signed up by the owners saying that they have done the appropriate reviews to see what the appropriate meter size is, etc., etc. This is the same form that we also use for the Down Circle homes, just for information. So we have a consistent form that's being utilized through the city.
You can hear this, Foster?
Right up against the mic.
Can you hear her?
No, it works. You just
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Rose.
into it like it's ice cream.
Okay. Scroll back up here. So also, council still chooses to move forward with this. We are also recommending that a budget adjustment be made.
Okay. Hit the one button, you're gonna have to.
Hello, Foster.
Alright, I apologize.
Go on, Rose.
Okay, continuing. We're also recommending that the council approve a budget adjustment for the 2017-18 Water Enterprise Fund budget accordingly, depending on the program fund amount that council decides to move forward with, if the council decides to move forward with. And we will formally do that with resolution at the mid-year budget adjustment in January when our finance director brings that to city council.
Okay, any questions for Rose?
Not a question for Rose, just a comment whenever we're ready for comment.
Okay, my question is, the fee would be, the cost would be the meter itself, the $60 an hour is something the city would just absorb, right?
Well, yes,
that's not
essentially
something that we would tack into the 25,000.
No, that's correct. And we would absorb it. But it's still a cost. Just because it's an hour of staff's time or so, depending on whatever, because it's a labor charge. But yes, it wouldn't be directly out of this fund. The 25,000 would be pretty much to cover the cost of the actual meters themselves.
Thank you. Councilmember Reif, any questions?
No questions, but I think I sent you an email just to clarify. The current stuff for 25,000 is to come out of the CIC budget, or not CIC, excuse me, the water fund itself as an enterprise fund, right?
That is correct.
So I prefer to stay there. I know that's the question, but yes, I have no questions.
Any other questions? No? Alrighty. Opening it up for public comment. Don't see any speaker slips. Did anybody want to get up and speak about our water meter program? Closing public comment, bringing it back to staff for discussion. bring, well, council, staff, yeah, any discussion with staff from council. I think it's a great idea, personally.
I would like to suggest that we, rather than throw the money number out and say first come, first serve, that we move this forward and get it done in a timely manner, i.e. 60 days, and have a 60-day window for anybody that wants to change their meter size because of what the rates have caused for their business. They're at our mercy, and we can help them best. We've approved, authorized and approved, and are billing these, in some cases, very huge increases. We talk about budgets. It's really upset their operating capital. I don't think we need to put a $25,000 cap on it. We should put a 60-day window, and if they can't get it put together, then it's on them the next time they decide, when they finally realize it's to their benefit to manifold their existing meters, which many have realized they're paying for a lot more than they really need. And so I think that's more effective for the community and the ratepayers, and we would have this off of our table in 60 days.
Would they be notified?
Absolutely. Like Mayor, I kind of like that idea, but I thought you were the one that was concerned about the rate increases and the effect on the businesses. You're kind of adding an additional burden to them because they have to hire a contractor, if you want, to determine their meter size, and then they have to implement it all within a pretty short time period. And I'm cool with that idea. I just want to make sure that you're adding additional burden to them and that you grasp that.
And let me clarify, I think what Vice Mayor Andrusik was talking about is 60 days to apply.
That's right.
Not for completion of the project. Is that correct?
Exactly. And Foster, I had a large property holder in Buellton call me this afternoon, and he had a 15-minute discussion with his engineer, and he had his flow in front of him on a tablet. So I know that it's a calculation. We didn't budget this $25,000 on this agenda item prior to tonight. So it has been proposed, it was proposed, and I think an alternative would be, don't make it the $25,000. It's just a cost for the city to do business and take on that 60-day. We have a 60-day window. You know, we have seasonal events that we do in the city that we spend lots of money to get things done, and this would be a concerted effort to handle this, and then from there on the property owners would have to absorb all of the expenses that they have.
I like the concept. The only thing I would like to see a $25,000 cap.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I applaud it. I think it's a good idea. But you know, I'm just worried that every guy in the city puts in for a thing and we're at $200,000. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's right. And our staff report tells us that this $25,000 will cover about 20 1.5-inch meters. I can feel pretty sure that the 1.5-inch meters aren't going to want to be downsizing. So that's a different. The number is going to probably be much lower people getting benefit because of the size. You know, the cost of. The cost involved.
Director Hess?
I think 20.
Yeah, there's, I believe there are less than 20 sites that have 3-inch meters and larger that would benefit from reducing. There's quite a few 2-inch meters throughout town, and I don't know, if they would want to reduce further. But at least as far as the large meters, 3, 4, 6-inch, there's definitely less than 20 of those.
Okay. So that's great. If you just hate to go in thinking we've handled it with 25,000, find out that it's just double that.
Well, exactly. So maybe we put the at 25,000, 60 days, and if we get a lot more people turning in applications, then it comes back to council for more discussion.
Well, I think that's for the benefit of everybody.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
Because I think we need to cap it at 25, especially in our ad hoc committee meetings. They were all going to go for it. The only thing I would see is, Ed said it could be done in 15 minutes. If they can't get it done, then someone's behind the 8 ball, someone gets rushed, and it doesn't get done properly. And then we really have some people mad at us. So, if we had to do it that way, and increase it to 90 days, that way we know people have an opportunity to make it.
Okay.
I don't have any heartburn with 90 days. I thought
60. 25,000. I just think,
25, and
yeah.
if it gets over that, it gets close to that limit, then it has to come back.
Right. Because I think once people get an opportunity to say, okay, hey, I can do this,
Save some money. Yeah.
and maybe some of those 2 inches can get by. I know Steve Blickman in our meeting says, we were, at the time he built the building, that was what the code was, and now we're telling him he can reduce down. It'll save him a lot of money. There might be other people like him.
Right, and staff, and just, to further clarify, staff can put in notice inside the November water bills, so we don't have to have a separate mailing, and we can inform the commercial and industrial users that way, and then we can make the 60 days effective December 1st, maybe, so once they get their...
Or 90 days.
Oh, yes, whatever the time frame chosen should be.
It'll go by pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then it gives them an opportunity. I mean, you have holidays coming, people are out, and there's construction or the consultants who might not be, hey, I'm taking the whole week of Thanksgiving off. It just gives them a more of an opportunity to get it done and make it work for everybody.
I agree with the 90 days because, a lot of times someone will look at their, trash, throw it away, trash. I mean, if you throw it away 3 times, that's on you. But I also think that we should cap that at that $25,000, and then anybody after that who may have bought a business and didn't get in on the deal could be as needed business to come and plead their case before the council. That if we're going to apply additional funds over the $25,000, that you need to have a reasonable cause to.
But only within the first 90 days.
Well, even after the 90 days, I think if you have mitigating circumstances, that you may have somebody come in here and say, hey, I didn't get in I didn't get in because of this, because escrow didn't close until X date, and I got past the 90, and I've got a 4-inch meter on this thing, and all I need is a 2. So, we can always approve it. I mean, kill it. That seems a little unreasonable. But they have to come here and plead their case.
I agree with that. That's fine.
Councilmember Rick, you okay with all this?
Well, I had trouble hearing the final consensus. 90 days is there a cap on the funds?
25,000.
Okay, no, that's what I'm saying. Just so clear, 25,000 is the cap, so the applicant has 90 days to get their initial application in.
Yes, it's still first come, first served with that.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Good job, Vice Mayor. Wow. Moving on to business item number 8.
Actually, we need a motion.
I thought it was discussion regarding.
No,
it is a resolution.
No resolution. We do need a motion to move forward with this, and then we'll bring back a budget adjustment, but we'll start the process.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Linda?
Okay, Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Councilmember Rife.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to business item number 8. Denver, I believe it is. Resolution number 17-21, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, for the purpose of budget amendments from operational changes related to fiscal year 2017-18 budget through the first quarter ending September 30, 2017. Director Zamora.
Madam Mayor, City Council. So back in May,
City Council approved their first 2-year budget. And as part of the budget process, staff prepares quarterly reports, and as a result, we found out that we underestimated our Buellton Recreation hourly employee wages, and we also underestimated the revenue coming from our Buellton Recreation program. So as a result, we are proposing that Council approves budget adjustment for the Recreation Department hourly wages for $21,000. And then with that, there's about $4,000 that goes along with payroll taxes for a total of $25,000 appropriation increase. And also, we budgeted about $110,000 of revenue coming in from our Buellton Recreation program. In the past 2 years, they have been receiving about $170,000. So we're requesting that Council approves an increase in Buellton Recreation revenue for $60,000. And as a result, Council it's about a $35,000 increase to the general budget. And staff recommends that City Council approve Resolution 17-21 to approve the budget amendments through September 30th, 2017. And I'm open to any questions.
Alrighty, Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor?
I would like to ask that this is a new, and we spend all this time on the budget, and then all of a sudden, this is a new thing that we didn't budget for, and I feel that it's a short window for us to make this consideration. I really wanted to have a better understanding of it, and I would ask that we continue this item for the reason that we all understand what it is. Now, it's not clear to me if we're hiring more people or we're giving people raises, and if we're short that, if we don't have that amount of money, why would we take it out of the fund that we've spoken to be more attentive to? That just because we have the money in the bank, I don't think we should be spending it.
Well, the Buellton Recreation Program started their first teen camp this summer, so as a result, they had to employ an additional 2 to 3 seasonal employees. And as a result of that, we incurred more wages. And what we noticed in the budget process, because we came back and increased the recreation budget $20,000 when we were adopting, but we were using the estimate, so we did not anticipate that additional in June of the first year of the teen camp. So that's where we came to Council to propose that amendment, because of this new teen camp, we're going to offer it again in June, and it's going to start, and it was about $10,000 just in June alone, and we're already at 67% of hourly wages for the Buellton Recreation Program. So if you think about it, they have this Thanksgiving camp, so it's about a week, and then they have a winter camp and the first month of summer camp pending for this fiscal year.
All the more reason to be cautious. Why? I think we need to know what's going on before the agreements are made. We're being asked to fund apparently something that's been agreed to. To my knowledge, I haven't heard this conversation. If anyone else has, then I missed a meeting.
So, any other questions?
No, I wasn't here for the first part of the budget, but it sounds like that the rec program is growing because of the teen program. So I would say that that is a plus, and I would vote for the resolution to increase the hourly wage. I think it's a big plus for the city. Gotta have something for the kids to do.
Is it the hourly wage that was increased, or was it the hiring of 2 counselors?
It was both. We hired 2 hourly counselors, but we under budgeted. We budgeted, I have the numbers here. Give me a second. We only budgeted $37,000 fiscal year 16-17, but we incurred $73,068. So
no projection is from that prior fiscal year, we should be around 70,000. So, and the current budget is 48,850. So you can see there's already a gap there. So we're going to go over budget. And the Buellton Recreation budget for 16-17 did go over budget for that same reason. So we're just trying to adjust. So at the end of the fiscal year, they're not over budget again because of that underestimate.
I'm having trouble hearing Chanel, but I'm also having, I'm not with them understanding right from their concern. So, what is some of the summarize? I mean, for the stock packet, it looks like you're making more money from your revenue. So, is there a concern about what the request is? Maybe I'm missing something.
And that's basically the process we go through when we do have these little changes, and again, the amount of we're getting in more than covers the teen summer camp counselors, the additional ones that we've hired. So that's why we do budget adjustments, and I think the information that we provided explains that.
Yeah, so you should know that I thought with Governor Gregory that summer camp was overbooked and maxed to the capacity, and so we hire more people to facilitate those things. That takes the increased cost and takes the increased revenue, and I guess am I missing something?
And then there's an additional teen summer camp as well.
And also keep
so things got even better revenue wise, and so we had to hire more counselors, which is goodness, right? For the city and revenue wise, that's the providing services.
That is correct.
Right.
So,
and our minimum.
What's the concern? I guess maybe I'm missing the concern.
Well, let me just add, Foster, that our minimum wage requirement, we have to keep up with the state requirements, which are going up annually now. So we are in compliance currently with the state minimum wage, which is $12 an hour for our camp counselors, which they are all at, which they were not at before. So that's another issue that probably wasn't put into the budget and projected forward. And as we go forward into 2026, that needs to be calculated into the budget because each year that amount does go up. And it's not significant, but it does go up to, I think, about $16
I want to understand, we need to come up with $25,000 for a program that is taking in more money than we expected. It doesn't make sense. Why would we have to put any more money in? Are we allowed?
No, I think we're just approving the budget change, Vice Mayor. I'm not sure we're adding more money per se.
Because we had the additional camp counselors. That's why we need the budget adjustment to increase the appropriation, but also increase the revenue because we've received more revenue than we expected.
Yes, that is.
Yeah, so that's essentially adjusting the budget for expenditures and revenues because there are more revenues and more expenditures than they previously estimated. So we're not really adding money per se. We're just providing allocations to the budget as previously approved because things went extraordinarily well.
That is correct.
That's presented better than I understand. Why would we ask for $25,000 if we didn't need $25,000?
We're not at, yeah, it's a paper, it's just a paper. That is correct.
We're not writing a $25,000 draft to somebody.
No, we are not.
I think it's a little amazing that the increase in revenues is up 60,000 and our budget was just finalized.
I agree.
For July. That's a pretty nice.
I guess I wanted to have it understood a little better. There's a couple of charts and some anticipated expenses.
Alrighty.
And revenue.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions for Chanel. What was our because I don't have it in front of me, and there was like 50,000 items on there. What was our budget for this revenue prior to today?
It was $110,000.
So this 60,000 now, is that an actual number, or is that just a projected revenue?
It's projected revenue for the past 2 fiscal years. 14 to 15, we received $173,000. And 16-17, we received a little bit over $173,000. So,
why would we wouldn't have shown 170 in this year's budget?
Because we underestimated that revenue.
Not good.
Okay, I have one more question. You said they hired 3 people for the summer camp?
Yes.
How long is that summer camp?
It starts in June and ends mid-August, so about 2.5 months.
Yeah, it's about 10 weeks.
Yeah, 10 weeks.
Okay. So I did some math on here, and it's not quite what you'd pay those 3 employees, but what you're doing is you're projecting in the future what this would be as a budget item rather than an actual cost.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Signal, Foster, would you?
Almost not even ready.
Get Wi-Fi.
About it.
It's like San Luis radar.
Want me to open public comment?
Well, I'm just
Since nobody's going to talk, and bring it back.
That 35,000 is just basically what you have had in the past. Those are past actual numbers.
Good. Very good.
Nice to have you
What you
here.
projected for this
We're almost done.
as a budget item.
Yes, and overall, the result of this budget adjustment would be an increase to general funds for $35,000.
So realistically, though, that it's not really a net gain. It's just you're putting it back where it should have been.
Yes.
And then we're paying for 3 more people.
Yes, and then we did not anticipate that in the original budget, so we're just accounting for that.
So last year's was $25,000 as an expense, was $25,000 less. Because these 3 people were not there.
Yes,
So
correct.
it's not really a $35,000 net gain. Because you are employing 3 more people. It's basically, you put it back where it should have been in the first place.
Yes, and we're putting in the budget to account for that.
Okay.
And the teen camp was really a trial thing. You know, they weren't sure how it was going to go, and it went very well.
Right.
And it was good to separate the younger ones from the teens, and it really worked out for everybody involved. And it was, you know, especially for
all of
parents.
that being said, is it our intention to operate the rec programs as a enterprise fund? That they need to bring in what we spend? Or is this a...
No, this will still be general fund. Because
bothers me. It's just because this is how you grow into, well, we've always done it this way. This year we only lost, well, we didn't lose as much as we lost last year. We're getting better. Enterprise funds are the best thing for the community. If it costs us to do something, we should be collecting that. That was, and I guess the way that I read it, and I didn't want to get so specific. I thought we'd get a little better understanding maybe from our recreation department at the next meeting. But I'm fine with moving forward with this. I just wanted to say, forewarn us that we don't. We've come up with $50,000 tonight that we didn't budget for. So
we can put some data together regarding that.
So the next time it comes, when we have a program, maybe we should say what our probability was that, or we found that we made money hand over fist. Is what it sounds like. It shows, but why do we need to? And I understand now we're not we're not paying a $25,000 bill. We're just earmarking $25,000 more expense.
Okay, I need to open public comment up real quick. Don't see anybody out there that needs to speak. I'm closing public comment. Bringing it back to council for adoption, perhaps. Anybody like to make a motion?
I just have one more question,
Sure.
just so everybody's clear on this issue.
Sure.
Because you put that $35,000 back into the budget. Let me ask you another question. What was the gain in the teen program? Do you have a number on that? Did they have to obviously pay to be in this program? This is not in here. I wish I had time to call you today, but I did not. However, how much of a net gain was there with the teen program.
I will get back to you with that because I don't have the exact number. I would have to do more research for that.
That is why I thought we would extend it to for rec to defend it, because they're the ones that manage it, they create it, and they manage it. You're left trying to explain where the dollars are flowing, and I'm just concerned about not developing a habit of just assessing new fees.
We will have Chanel and Cobb put together a memo with all the information for the council, so you can have that in.
Yeah. And I didn't understand what the hurry was. That's why I asked we continue. But if you want to move on it tonight.
So, Madam Mayor, if we could continue this, because Ed sounds like he's having a problem with it, and I am too. Because the way I'm doing the math on this is, they put the $35,000 back into the budget where it should have been in the first place, and now they're asking for $25,000 for a.
They put the 60.
No, that's not correct.
Okay, they put the 60 in. Okay, that's right.
Because it should have been
Okay,
170.
I stand corrected. Yeah, I see the numbers now. So there was a 35. I almost wanted to see what the net gain was in the program itself, and I don't think it's going to be the end of the world if we just get those numbers. I wish I could have called you today, and then I wouldn't have this problem with this issue.
No, that works.
Because we're asking for $25,000 if we only got a net gain of 10. Ouch. Is there a problem with bringing it back?
It's more of administrative appropriations.
But she doesn't have the numbers for me right now to say we gained $30,000 for the program. Because here we were saying if we only gained $5,000
going into the future.
Wait, Mark. If we only got a net gain of $5,000 and now we're asking for $25,000 increase in our budget, that's a $20,000 decrease in our budget.
No, we have a $50,000 increase in revenue and a $25,000 increase in cost. That's not
No, incorrect.
The only thing that bothers me about this, Councilmember Rife, is that they put the revenues at $110,000 when it should have been $170,000. The last 2 years, the revenue for Park and Rec has been over 170, and this year it was listed at 110.
Correct.
And they're changing that to the 170.
Yeah, okay. What's the problem then?
They're putting the numbers back to where it should have been in the first place because it was a deficit of $60,000. Not a gain.
I understand, but why do we compare that instead of the reconciling the problem?
Okay. I just want to see the numbers, personally.
So if we have a reconciling the problem, I think we're trying to move forward enough fast. I'm with you normally, but in this case, they're actually identifying the problem. They're trying to get to the problem. They put it in the staff report. They put it before.
Could we put it?
They've come in, we've turned on we've got the discussions and the increase in common cancel that person kind of reconcile the budget, and now we're going to continue. I thought we would just go for consensus and move on.
Make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
make a motion to approve resolution number 17-21 as stated.
Linda.
All right, Councilmember Mercado.
Make it ask the motion maker to have us understand this ahead of the next time, that they prepare a proper forecast and estimate so that we can see how they've done, because we're driving this thing from the back of this bus instead of in the front of the bus. We don't know where next year it could be 100,000 that they want to move. I follow it. I would like us to understand it. I don't think anyone. Well, it sounds like two people understand it, but we've got 5 of us here.
What they're trying to say is that for whatever reason they put 110,000 when it should have been 170,000.
Correct.
When previously it had been 170,000.
Correct.
So there's no hiding of anything. It was just
no accusations are being made. Just want to understand.
I was just saying that we need to go forward.
Okay.
And staff's fine with if you want to add Vice Mayor Andrusik for future
And if they could still, if
That's real
could still
money.
bring us back the information to see exactly.
Yes, we will bring back.
It has a logical.
Councilmember King?
Well, because they only put it back to its original number that it should have been in the first place, and then they're taking $25,000 off of it. So it's not really a net gain of $35,000. It's only putting revenue back to where it should have been in the first place. This is why I wanted the numbers on what the net gain was on the program itself, because you can't say that, oh, well, we're gaining $35,000. No, you're not. You're putting it back with the budget where it should have been in the first place, and then taking $25,000 off of that, and then saying, oh, we made $35,000. Incorrect. You only put the budget back to where it should have been.
For both expenses and revenues, both.
I understand that, but see, our original projection for a budget was a 170, 173, whatever it was. This is not a net gain of $35,000.
But the expenses were less as well. So
I understand that, but that's, see, now you're asking for $25,000, and that's why I wanted to see what the net gain was for the program. Otherwise, it is a net loss. You see what I mean?
No.
Am I not seeing this math correctly, where you're only putting the budget back to where it should have been in the first place? Now you're telling, okay, let's say I have $100. I should have had $150. So I give myself the $50, and I take $60 away. That's only $90. You understand where I'm coming from? You're only putting the budget back to $170 where it should have been in the first place. Then you're taking $25. That's not a $35,000 net gain. You're only putting our projected revenues back to where they should have been in the first place.
And the expenses.
And then it's adding $25.
No, putting the expenses back, so it comes out to a net $35.
I know, but those 3 people that we had in that summer project or program cost us, according to my math, about $14,000 or $15,000 to employ for those 3 months. Did the math on my calculator. So if you're only putting the budget where it should have been in the first place and then taking $25,000 off of that, it's not a net gain of $25,000.
We're not putting it back and then taking. We're putting both in. Correct?
I understand that.
That is correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You're only taking, we projected $110,000 on our budget. That was incorrect, right?
That is
correct. All right, now we're on the same sheet of music. Now we're saying, oh, we're going to put the $60,000 on the budget projected where it should have been in the first place. Correct? Making it $170,000.
Yes.
Correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I on the same sheet of music?
But I think once you get to the expenses,
now we got to $170,000 where we should have been in the first place. Then we employed 3 people, right? We didn't project those 3 people were going to be employed, correct?
Yes, that is
correct. Me if I'm wrong. You're saying yes, Chanel, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now you're asking me for the budget that where it should have been in the first place, we're taking $18,000 off of that. That wasn't budgeted when we all sat up here and went through all these line items and did that in the first place, correct? Correct.
Yes.
So you're asking for $25,000 for these 3 people, correct? Correct?
It is not necessarily for those 3 people. That's included in there. What I found out from my research is when our recreation department coordinator told us that he anticipated $20,000 increase. So we budgeted that based on the prior year budget, which was incorrect for us to do because we did not anticipate those additional 3 people in June.
Okay, so stop right there. So if he said we think that there would be a $20,000 increase, that should have been $190,000, correct?
No, because the prior year, the hourly wages were only $27,000.
The prior year?
The prior years.
Okay, does anybody not see where I'm going with this? Because we're budgeting revenue where it should have been in the first place and taking $25,000 off of that. Am I not understanding this correctly? Do you understand?
Yeah, that
I don't.
Okay. Foster, follow me here. You understand where I'm going with this, Foster?
I what I think what you're now trying to get at is peace on the reconciliation.
Yeah, I understand that. I do understand that, but you can't say we gained $35,000 when we only put our budget back where it should have been in the first place, and then say we gained $35,000. This is why I wanted to know how much net gain there was overall.
Net is 35 because the budget is going up revenues and up expenses, and the difference is 35. That's for the appropriations.
I think your rationale was previously approved. And what we're trying to currently approve, and we're trying to reconcile those numbers in a vacuum. And I think, and I applaud you for that. I think what we're trying to reconcile in the status quo is that they're identifying that the revenue didn't necessarily match the appropriate revenues. And hence we're trying to rectify additional expenditures based upon said revenues. And so it's all one math allocation, distinction, update. And so I think that's what comes in the consternation, in my opinion.
Well, here's what I'm having a problem with. And I understand that. But here's what I'm having a problem with. And I'm sorry I'm dragging everybody out on this. If last year I made X, and my payment to people was X, and that was the same this year except the fact that I hired 3 more people, that's going to cost me X amount of dollars for those 3 people that I hired, even if my projection is the same revenue as last year. Am I not seeing something here? If I hire 3 extra people, it's not going to cost me less money.
But the revenues are also not going to reflect it properly, and that's what we're updating as well.
Well, but the revenues weren't any different than last year, Foster. But they were 170 last year, and they're saying you're projecting now 170 this year, correct? Or
they're projecting it now, but in the last budget they weren't being projected properly.
I understand that, but still I hired 3 people, which is going to cost money.
Well, that's the whole point of our reconciliation. I think that's why there's the motion before you. So this is I'm sorry, there's no proposal, why not?
Okay, ready? Okay, Councilmember Mercado.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Aye.
Councilmember Rife. What was that?
Aye.
Okay. And let's see, Councilmember King.
No.
And Vice Mayor Andrusik.
A leap of faith, aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
No. 3-2. It's a correction. Alrighty, city managers.
Thank you. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, so honor the veterans, and City Hall will be closed.
And there's the veterans ceremony at the Vet Center, 10 o'clock in Solvay.
Is it on Saturday?
No.
I'm sorry, what 3-2 now,
3-2, yes.
Okay, sorry.
And staff has been working with the Sheriff's Department on the contract, and they did not let us know that it was going before the board to kind of talk about that. So neither Carpenter, Goleta, Solvang, or Buellton was informed that that would be on the agenda. But I've been talking to him for the last 6 months. We have a draft contract, and we're meeting with all the agency reps and the sheriff next week to start the negotiations. And it's just a change of type of service, and again, we haven't seen any numbers to compare, so there's really nothing we can do at this point until we start looking at the numbers in the contract and discussions. But I don't know why they put it on so the way they did, and but staff has been aware of what's going on with it. We just didn't know it was going to come to the forefront so soon. So
I would like the comparable services we received. Unbelievable.
And what they're doing is a little more accounting type of contracts. So if we know where the Buellton deputy is, we know what he's doing, what the other ones are doing. So we'll have cost accounting type of thing. So it's, again, we're starting the process, and it'll be for the next fiscal year.
While we're there and our lieutenant is here, could we perhaps get the report, the flow chart of how our community is doing with the different offenses? We used to We had that.
We still get that. When I receive it, I forward it. I haven't just received the latest stats yet.
Okay.
So we do have that.
And Mark, can I ask a question about the driver's business?
Well, you can ask me or Mary Sierra or Councilmember King as well, but go ahead.
So it seems to me that they're becoming more and more covert in their actions, less transparent as we move forward with little talks and meetings and
Well, the last meeting staff had, there was not much to report from them. They didn't give us numbers. They couldn't do it yet because they didn't do their budget. So all three of us are trying to work through that as we move forward, and maybe Mayor Sierra or Councilmember King can add to that.
We're just kind of...
I'm just saying that it seems that now they dropped the glass motor business, right?
No, the library board meeting wasn't last minute. It was agendized. It was fully agendized with Brad.
So what was the time that you just made about a last night meeting? Was that not with regards to the library?
Oh, no, that was the county, the sheriff's department.
Yeah, that was the county, the sheriff's department putting that on the agenda, so it's a little not bothering.
Apologies.
Okay. Continue, City Manager Beardson.
That is all I have to report.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for driving all the way up here. Okay.
Thanks for a pleasant meeting.
I hereby adjourn our City Council meeting. We'll see you all next Thursday, December 14th. There will be no meeting in 2 weeks for Thanksgiving. We'll reconvene December 14th at 6 o'clock.
We're checking out, Foster.
Goodbye, Foster.
Thank you for my